Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible, essential, and frankly intelligent structures in all of biology, the plasma membrane. It's the gatekeeper of life itself, and we're going to see exactly how it runs the show.
So to get our heads around this, just picture a huge bustling city. It's got borders, it's got gates, security checkpoints, shipping docks. It has to bring in resources and ship out goods and waste, all while keeping trouble out. Well, guess what? Every single one of the trillions of cells in your body faces those exact same challenges.
And this is the cell's absolutely brilliant solution, the plasma membrane. Now, this isn't some rigid wall. Scientists call it a fluid mosaic, which is a perfect description. It's this beautiful, flexible barrier made of a double layer of lipid molecules, with all sorts of proteins embedded inside, kind of like little agents working as the cell's border control. And these proteins, they aren't just floating around randomly. Oh no, they are highly specialized agents, and each one has a critical job. Some are channels and pumps, handling all the transport. Others act like little ID tags so cells can recognize each other. Some even join cells together, while others are signal receptors, grabbing messages from the outside and passing them inside. It is an incredibly busy and coordinated system. All right, so we've got this smart border. Let's dig into how things actually get across it, starting with the easiest way. This is the path of least resistance, the one that requires absolutely zero energy from the cell. It's a process called diffusion. And really, it's just the natural tendency for things to spread out, to move from a crowded space to a less crowded one, until everything's even. You know this intuitively. If someone sprays perfume across the room, you eventually smell it, right? The molecules just naturally wander from where there's a lot of them to where there are fewer. That's diffusion.
And this simple physical process is absolutely fundamental to our survival. With every single breath you take, oxygen, which is super concentrated in your lungs, just diffuses right into your bloodstream where there's less of it. No energy spent. It's like an effortless delivery service that keeps every cell in your body up and running. But not everything can just waltz across the membrane like that. Some molecules are too big, or maybe they have an electrical charge that gets rejected by that lipid bilayer. For these guys, the cell provides a special door, kind of like a tunnel, a transport protein. We call this facilitated diffusion. It's still passive, it's still flowing down the concentration gradient, but it just needs a little help, an escort, to get through the door. And the efficiency of these protein channels is, well, it's just staggering. Take the ones just for water. They're called aquaporins. A single one of these channels can help 3 billion water molecules cross the membrane every single second. That speed is just absolutely mind-boggling. Now, this movement of water is so incredibly important that it actually gets its own special name, osmosis. It's just the diffusion of water across a membrane. And this process is working nonstop to keep the fluid balance inside every single one of your cells perfectly tuned so they don't shrink or, swell up dangerously. But keeping that water balance is a really delicate act. You can see it right here. If you put an animal cell, like one of ours, into a solution that's too watery, it'll swell up and can actually burst. But a plant cell in the same exact situation, it just gets firm and healthy because that rigid cell wall it has protects it. It's all about adapting to your environment. And I'm sure you've seen this in action. Anytime you've forgotten to water a houseplant and it starts to droop, that wilting is because water is leaving the plant cells through osmosis. But then you give it a drink, water flows back in, the cells get firm or turgid, and the plant perks right back up. That's osmosis, right there in your living room. Okay, so going with the flow is pretty easy. But what happens when a cell needs to do the exact opposite? Sometimes it has to literally push stuff against its natural tendency, moving it from where there's not much of it to where it's already crowded.
So here's the crucial distinction. Let's just break it down. Passive transport is like rolling downhill. No energy needed. It just follows the concentration gradient. Active transport, on the other hand, is the uphill battle. It shoves things against their gradient, and to do that, the cell has to spend some serious energy.
So how does it pay for this uphill work? Well, the cell's energy currency is a molecule called ATP. What happens is the transport protein grabs the molecule it needs to move. Then ATP gives it this little burst of energy. That forces the protein to change its shape and literally pump the molecule across the membrane, pushing it exactly where it doesn't naturally want to go.
And listen, this isn't some obscure biological process. Active transport is absolutely essential for life as we know it. The famous sodium-potassium pump, for example, uses this process in your nerve cells. Without it, you couldn't think a thought, feel a sensation, or even move a muscle. It's that important. So far, we've only been talking about moving pretty small molecules. But what happens when the cell needs to ship or receive a really big package? We're talking like a whole protein or a big string of sugars. For that, it needs a totally different system. It uses something called bulk transport. To ship large molecules out, a little membrane sac called a vesicle merges with the main plasma membrane and just spills its contents outside. That's exocytosis. It's how your glands release hormones or how your eyes make tears. To bring stuff in, the membrane actually pinches inward to form a new vesicle, and that's endocytosis. Okay, we've seen just how incredibly sophisticated this cellular border is. I mean, it's a masterpiece of billions of years of evolution. But what's truly astonishing, what's really mind-blowing, is that its origin story is one of beautiful, spontaneous simplicity. So this brings us to the ultimate question. Where did this critical structure, the very thing that separates life from non-life, even come from? Was it some complex, guided process? The answer, remarkably, is no. It turns out that phospholipids, those main molecules of the membrane, have this really unique property. If you just mix them with water, they automatically, completely spontaneously, organize themselves into these tiny enclosed bubbles. No genes, no enzymes, no instructions needed. Just physics and chemistry doing their thing. This ancient natural tendency is so reliable and so cool that we're now actually using it to build the future of medicine. Scientists are creating artificial vesicles, they call them liposomes, which are essentially these self-made bubbles to carry drugs and deliver them directly to specific target cells in the body. It is a revolutionary approach, inspired by one of life's most basic building blocks. And that leaves us with a really profound thought. The very first boundary that made the first cells possible wasn't built. It just built itself, all based on the physical properties of its parts. It shows that incredible order can just emerge from chaos, all on its own. It really makes you wonder, what other complex, elegant structures in the universe are just waiting for the right conditions to assemble themselves?